8 is enough, RGB, and we shall overcome are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is March 15th, 2023. It is the 74th day of the year. You got 291 days left. I am in total amazement at how fast this year's going. It just seems like since the pandemic, months, weeks, and days are just flying by. Anyway, today is your 11th Wednesday in your 11th week and your 85th day of winter. 5 days until spring. What's that, Monday? Tuesday, something like that? If today's your birthday, your birthstone is either an aquamarine, a bloodstone, or a jade. Today is National Buzzards Day. With the coming of spring, many people tend to celebrate the warmth of the season in a variety of different ways. For some folks, it's kind of weird, but bird watching. Yes, a lot of people go bird watching. Certain extremely avid bird watchers, however, are not interested in just any birds. These special bird watchers are kind of into buzzards, and this is the time of year when buzzards come back north. And that's why they celebrate the buzzard on this day. Buzzards are often found in North America, Scandinavia, and even the Mediterranean. They're a species of vulture protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty of 1918. A majority of buzzards can be found in Canada and northern United States during the warmer months, but then they tend to head south to South America and the Caribbean during the winter months. So go out and watch one of these nasty looking birds. All right, let's see what else March 15th has given us. 1783, in an emotional speech in New York, George Washington asks his officers not to support the Newburgh conspiracy. The plea is successful and the threatened coup d'etat never takes place. Yeah, we almost had a coup d'etat. I mean, we almost had several of them in the early days of the United States, but this one was pretty serious. 1823, sailor Benjamin Morrill erroneously reported the existence of the island New South Greenland near Antarctica. Benjamin Morrill was an American sea captain, explorer, and trader who made a number of voyages, mainly to the Atlantic, the South Ocean, and the Pacific Islands. He was very well traveled, he'd seen some things, but he also had a habit of basically making things up. In a ghost-written memoir, A Narrative of Four Voyages, which describes his sea-going life between 1823 and 1832, Morrill included numerous claims of discovery and achievement, many of which have been disputed by geographers and historians, and in some cases have been proven completely false. He ended his career as a sea captain as a fugitive, having wrecked his ship and misappropriated parts of the salvaged cargo. Basically, he crashed his ship and started selling what was ever on board. But we get to New South Greenland. Morrill's account describes how, on the morning after rounding Cape Horn in South America, Morrill claimed he saw a large tract of land. In his journal, he referred to this as New South Greenland and recorded that during the next few days, the Wasp, the ship he was on, explored more than 300 nautical miles of its coast. Morrill provided vivid descriptions of the land's features and observations and its abundant wildlife. No such land exists. Several people went down to check out this island and never found anything. Sir James Clark Ross went down there in 1842. He said this land was imaginary. In 1917, British explorer William Spires Bruce wrote that the existence of this area should not be rejected until absolutely disproven, and he couldn't find it. A handful of other explorers went down to this area around the early 1900s. They couldn't find anything. A few of them got stuck in the ice trying to find this land that had wildlife. This guy was a piece of work, though. He married a woman in 1819. Like a year later, he decided to go off to sea on a voyage. When he came back in 1824, he found that she had died. And they think he had some small children, and they also died. So he did the only respectable thing and married his 15-year-old cousin soon after. I mean, what else is a grieving widower going to do? I'm not sure if that was illegal back then, but it should have been. He was like 30 years old at the time. 1875, Archbishop of New York John McCloskey is named the first cardinal in the United States. 1951, Iranian oil industry is nationalized, meaning the government took it over. 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson, responding to the Selma crisis, tells the U.S. Congress, "We shall overcome," while advocating for the Voting Rights Act. Premiered on March 15th, 1977, 8 is Enough. This series follows the lives of the influential Bradford family, which has 8 children. This show showcased the evolution of their family over the years and how they adapted to new obstacles and situations. This was all the rage back in the late 70s, early 80s. It starred Dick Van Patten, had a bunch of other people like Willie Ames, Adam Rich, who sadly just died earlier this year, like a month or so ago. Ralph Macchio from The Karate Kid was in it for like 12 episodes, I think. Susan Richardson, Diane Kay, Brian Patrick Clark, Grant Goodeve, who I always thought was a great actor, but he never really did much. My favorite was Connie Needham. She played Elizabeth Bradford. Now, when I was a young man, I was in love with her. I thought she was gorgeous. I just looked her up. She really didn't do much after Eight Is Enough, maybe an episode here or there, but that was about it. She kind of dropped out of Hollywood by the 90s. The last thing she did was she played a waitress for one episode in the Ellen sitcom in 1995. I just saw last year, I guess, Willie Ames is now a cruise director on a cruise ship someplace. I don't know if he's still doing that, but I saw a thing where that he was switching careers. But the show was based on the life of newspaper editor and columnist Tom Braden, who also served as the co-host as Pat Buchanan on CNN's Crossfire. Eventually, there were 2 Eight Is Enough sequels entitled Eight Is Enough, A Family Reunion, and then they did an Eight Is Enough wedding. Born on March 15th, 1933, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. She was nominated by Bill Clinton in 1993. She was well known for her constant advocacy for gender equality. She worked with the ACLU to advance the treatment of women after she graduated from Columbia Law. She continued her work for women's equality on the Supreme Court, where she ruled that the Virginia Military Institute's state-funded schools could not refuse entry to women. She was really an amazing woman. She died on September 18th, 2020 in Washington, D.C. You could honestly do a whole video on her alone. Died on March 15, 2009, Ron Silver. He was an actor and a voice actor. He was an activist, director, producer, and radio host. He was in Enemies, A Love Story, Time Cop, Reversal of Fortunes, which was pretty good, The Arrival in '96, which was great. He did a lot of almost B movies like Silent Rage and Live Wire. Silent Rage was with Chuck Norris. Deadly Outbreak was Sylvester Stallone. He was in a really good movie with Goldie Hawn and Burt Reynolds called Best Friends. That was really good. He was in the Billionaire Boys Club, Silkwood, which was pretty good. And he was in the Will Smith movie Ali. And like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, he went to Columbia University. Silver was a longtime smoker and died on March 15, 2009 at the age of 62 of esophageal cancer, which he'd been diagnosed with 2 years earlier. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.